Breaking news this hour, Bloomberg is reporting that President Biden is set to ban U.S. imports of Russian oil as soon as today. Our next guest is floating a bill in Washington to wean the U.S. off of foreign energy. And joining us now, Senator Ted Cruz of Texas. He unveiled his Energy Freedom Act on Friday. And it would be different than what we're doing now. How, Senator?
Well, Joe, good morning. Good to be with you. The Energy Freedom Act would be dramatically different from what we're doing now. It would expedite the application to export liquid natural gas. It would expedite permitting. It would speed up the leasing, both onshore and offshore. You know, when Joe Biden came in the very first week in office, he shut down the Keystone Pipeline. He destroyed 11,000 high-paying jobs, including 8,000 union jobs. He immediately froze new leases both on federal land onshore and on federal land offshore. That's had a dramatic effect. We're seeing the prices skyrocketing at the pump. And, you know, it really is striking. In 2019, the United States became a net energy exporter. We are an oil and gas superpower. And yet under Joe Biden last year, for the first time since then, America stopped being a net energy exporter as our production went down. And the result of Biden's presidency has been that the enemies of America, countries like Russia, like Iran, like Venezuela, are all getting stronger, getting richer, getting more aggressive, getting more hostile, because the president is simultaneously weakening our own ability to produce energy and strengthening their ability to produce energy. I got to say, it's backwards on both fronts.
But Senator, the Biden administration are pikers compared to Germany and Europe, and it's kind of a global movement. All you got to do is go to the world, go to Davos, and you will hear top down about the most urgent emergency is climate change versus nukes versus chemical waste versus, you know, take your pick, versus everything that else is going on in the world. So we're actually behind Europe. So this has been going on for a while. What would you do to change the zeitgeist of just this green frenzy that the entire globe is involved with right now? It's not just the Biden administration.
Well, Joe, it's important to understand that the rhetoric of the far left, they don't actually believe it. It's not actually about the environment. If the only thing you cared about was the environment, let's say you didn't care at all about jobs, you didn't care about inflation, you didn't care about gas prices at the pump skyrocketing, you just cared about inflation, or you just cared about the environment. On that metric, the Biden administration is a disaster. Why? When you shut down the Keystone Pipeline, it's not like the Canadians just leave that gas in the tar sands. Instead, they put it on trucks and trains and they ship it south, or they put it on ships and they ship it west to China. Both pollute more, produce more CO2. When you shut down production in the United States, it's not like the rest of the world suddenly ceases driving cars or flying jet airplanes. What happens instead is producers like Russia, producers like the Middle East, produce more. And all of that production is dirtier, it pollutes more, and it emits more carbon emissions, more CO2. So the effect of Joe Biden, the effect of the Greens in Germany, has been more pollution and more CO2 emitted to the environment. Their rhetoric is not what they're trying to do. What they're really trying to do, it's an irrational, emotional response. The Biden administration wants to destroy U.S. energy production. And I got to say, this past week has illustrated it powerfully. You've seen the Biden administration travel to Venezuela, go to Nicolas Maduro, a vicious dictator, an illegitimate government, someone who murders and tortures his own citizens, and beg them to produce oil. You see the Biden administration this week in Vienna with Iran trying to have the Ayatollah Khomeini produce more oil. And it is bizarre that this administration wants enemies of America like Russia and Iran and Venezuela to produce oil, and at the same time to destroy jobs here in America. And I got to say, I think a lot of people are realizing the foolishness of it. Now, you mentioned the news breaking about Biden imposing an embargo on Russian oil. I think finally that's the right thing to do. That's what I've been pressing the Biden administration to do. And if they go forward with it, good. The next step needs to be to work to get Europe to do the same thing, to wean themselves from Russian oil and gas. Now, the way to do that is to have alternative sources, and the obvious alternative source is the United States. The Biden administration has 6 pending applications right now to export liquid natural gas, and it's sitting on all 6 of them. Presidential leadership would be Joe Biden going on television this morning and pulling out a pen and approving all 6 of them and saying to Europe, you need to follow our lead, cut off Russian oil and gas, and we'll supply you, others will supply you. But the way to stop Putin, where he is vulnerable, is he leads a petrostate. He is a petro tyrant. All of his revenue comes from the sale of oil and gas. If you cut that off, that's how you stop the war on Europe. But at least so far, Biden has not been serious about doing that.